Hello, my name is Caitlin Bacuel, and today I want to ask you if you have found yourself already scrolling on your phone and getting distracted by a lot of different things that could happen on it. There are no denying that there's a lot of pros and cons to having our phones around and being more digital in this world, and I know that something that I personally struggle with is getting things done while my phone is out, so it's usually out of sight, out of mind. From Jessica Kingsley Publishers in 2019, young people who spend more than 6 hours online outside of school and work are more likely to report that they are dissatisfied with their lives and feeling more lonely. Today, I will convince you that social media is an addiction. I will do this by covering on how social media can be a big distraction. It's not only limited to our phones, and discrimination is very prevalent in social media. Social media is not only limited to our phones, and this is because there are video game platforms such as Discord and TeamSpeak. This can go further into the actual video game platforms itself, for example, Overwatch and Valorant, Call of Duty, etc. There are many different ways to communicate with your teammates, and this is why I consider this such a big piece of social media, because a lot of people only use this kind of communication way. In 2016, from MIT Press, they posit our brains to compare a sense of experience, and these emotional and cognitive experiences are set off in our brain to convince them that this is a social setting happening, even though it's not a physical experience. But it is a mental experience that is tricking our brains into believing it's social. Video games are on the rise, and this is a non-standard form of social media, but it is definitely a form of social media just because it does all of the same things that you could normally do on Instagram, Snapchat, any other platform like Facebook. According to Transcript Verlag of 2019, video games have been legitimized by their technological and narrative advancements, and this is to furthering our society in one direction. And another quote from the same article was, "Video games have long been a playground for implementation of new ideas and explorations for future scenarios." And this is a big part about our generation because it's a genuine thing that we are going to play on our phones, on video game platforms for as long as we can handle it. There will be people that will be doing that. Another problem is that social media can really be a big distraction, especially for schoolwork and work. According to Greenwood ABC Publishing in 2020, internet addiction is a term for compulsive internet use, and most people who try and stop using social media will experience withdrawals. This can be compared to smoking, vaping, alcohol addiction, any other addiction. You will experience withdrawals when you're trying to cut down from it, and having social media be included in something that is just as intense as smoking, drug abuse, anything, is really something to put into perspective. There are many notifications with our phones and constantly getting different platforms to notify you that someone responded. And when you're getting your work done, it's not always easy to avoid looking at it. You hear a noise or you see a notification pop up and you want to look at it. From Tradition Verlag 2022, studies have proven that people who use little to no social media are comparatively more creative than those that are not on, or that are on social media platforms. We usually interpret social media with a form of anxiety, depression, and there's a lot of people that feel that they're missing out if they're not on a social media platform. And I think that this is important to note because of our culture and how our overall generation works with our digital behaviors. From Basic Books Publishing in 2017, in my study of growing up in the networked culture, I meet many children and teenagers who feel cast off. Those lucky children who have intact families with stable incomes can experience other forms of abandonment. For young people in all of these circumstances, computers and mobile devices offer communities when families are absent. And this really is true that it is an addiction because a lot of sources lead us to that point in time. There are the feelings of being lonely that you lead back to wanting to not feel lonely, so then you turn to people that are on social media because maybe they're feeling the same things. From Jessica Kingsley Publishers in 2019, young people who spend more time outside are going to feel like they are doing less activities and are more open to having a negative interpretation of life. Another thing on social media is that sexism and bullying are really prevalent, and this is a sad reality that this happens a lot on video game platforms as well, and the social media addiction just keeps people coming back even if they are experiencing bad experiences. I think that one of the main causes is that when younger girls are introduced to a video game, for example, a lot of the time it's their brothers or their dad introducing them to one. And this is not the case for many things, but a lot of the time sources can say that men feel superior to women on video games and on social media in general, and obviously not everybody is like this, but there are many reports of women feeling inferior because this is not something that they are a dominated field in. According to New York University Press 2020, it still acts as a barrier to equality in gaming spaces and potentially other masculinated areas by normalizing masculinity while making women's desire to enter a space as unusual and deviant. I think the solution to everything is just be nice. Be someone that you want to be around. Promote equality. Know that being online is not specifically for one specific gender, and in general, social media is a really big part of our lives, and we need to crack down on what time we spend on it. For example, another solution to this is just turn off notifications and start focusing on other activities. There needs to be a barrier of at what point we do our work and at what point we can have fun time. And I think that a lot of people usually have this fun time past dinner time, and I think that's a good thing to start setting for ourselves. We just need to start living in the present. A lot of people have prevented themselves from doing that. I just reviewed how social media can be a big distraction and discrimination is present. I touched on how social media is not only limited to the apps on our phones. Today, I convinced you that social media is a problem and an addiction. It is time to be less locked on our screens and live in a non-digital world.